All right, so welcome everyone. This is our first work session, City Council work session for 2021. So Happy New Year and thank you all for attending. As you saw in your packet, it was myself and new council members Ann McGregor and Kathleen Refkin were officially sworn in at City Hall this afternoon. And so we are now all official. So again, welcome and congratulations to Ann and to Kathleen. Glad to have you on board here. We have a pretty full agenda. I know it's only 2 items, but with the interviews and as many applicants as we have, we may run into a time crunch. So what I'm going to suggest, we're going to start out with the Park and Planning Commission interviews. And then if we have time, we will do the MSA Sunnyfield Road project discussion. If not, we may have to move that to our regular meeting, or we might even maybe could move it to our next work session. But with that, the way we start our meetings is I call the meeting to order, which I've now done, and then we do a roll call of our staff and council. And when I call your name, if you can just say I'm here, that would be helpful. Then we can also do at the same time a sound check. So with that, council members present, Pam Mortensen. I am here. Kathleen Refkin.
I'm here.
Ann McGregor.
I'm here.
John Chamberlain.
Here.
And I'm Lisa Whalen, the mayor. I'm also here. City staff, we have Mike Baroni.
I'm here, Mayor.
Do we have Finance Director Brian Grimm with us?
We do.
I am here, yes.
All right. And we have Community Development Director David Abel.
I'm here.
City Clerk Chris Lindquist.
I am here.
Director of Administration Ali Paulfus.
I'm here.
Public Works Superintendent Gary Peters.
I am here.
And Chief of Police Paul Falls.
I am also here.
You're here too. Good. Okay. And then I think our city engineer with WSB is Allison Fauski. You are here too?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'm here.
All right. Mike, did I get everyone?
I believe you got everyone, Mayor, and
All right.
I'm still, I think Damien has joined us. I still do not see Andrew Beitler. If he's here, could you speak up, please? Don't believe he's here, Mayor. And then the one other person that will not be here, I do have an email to read. It's just a few sentences. If you've got a second here, I can do that right now too, as well, Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Okay, so this is from Sarah Hussein. She sent this to us this afternoon. She says, unfortunately, I will not be able to attend tonight. I remain interested in the position, but I am in Arizona due to an emergency with my elderly in-laws. Please pass along my apologies to the council. If they are comfortable that my history in the position is enough to keep me in the role, I would like to continue to serve. If not, I understand. So that was signed Sarah Hussein.
Okay. Yeah, it's difficult time, I'm sure. All right. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to David real quick for a brief overview of Parks and Planning. David?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Per the direction from the City Council at your last meeting in 2020, the Council directed staff to go ahead and advertise for the open seats that we have. There's currently 1 vacant seat and 2 alternate seats with the Park Commission, and we have 2 vacant seats for the Planning Commission. Staff did go ahead and advertise twice in the Laker, as well as the city website and the city's Facebook page for the positions. And as you can see from your staff report, we do have a number of people that have applied for those positions, including those that we're currently on with their seats expiring that wish to continue to re-up. There is one individual who is interested in both Parks or Planning Commission, as you can see called out in your staff report. As we've done, there's a couple of template questions. Certainly, if the council wants to handle it in a different way or ask different questions, that's up to you as the council to do. And as you'll see on your regular meeting agenda later tonight at 7 o'clock, one of the business items would be then to select members to these vacant seats and adopt that by resolution. So with that, I'll not take up any more time and get to let the council go ahead and dive into interviews.
Okay, thank you. So real quick, before we get started on interviews, I'm just going to go over a few formalities. And also, I do want to make one correction and clarification. If any of you looked at the packet on page 4 and page 10 of the work session packet, it gives us a short description of the Park and Planning Commissions. However, on page 10, it is incorrect. It's stated that the Planning Commission meets every 4th Thursday, and that is incorrect. It meets every 4th Monday. So I want to make sure that everybody is on the same page and understands it's every 4th Monday that the Planning Commission meets. In addition, I just want to quickly say that several years ago we added the alternate positions, and there was a number of reasons why, and I want to just make it clear that the alternate roles are also very important. They're important because we want to make sure that our commissions will have a quorum, and with alternates we're able to fill a seat if a commissioner cannot make that meeting. The other thing that it does is if a commissioner were to resign during their term, an alternate can then be placed immediately in that position as well. And in addition to that, it also gives our alternates an opportunity to kind of get their feet wet, and if you want to call them commissioners in training, so to speak. And it also gives more opportunities for more people in our community to get involved. So first, I want to say thank you to all of the applicants that applied. I'm very surprised and very happy about the many applications that we received. Since we have so many applications and we are on a time limit here because we have a council meeting immediately afterwards, we're going to have to keep this to about no more than 10 minutes per applicant. What I'm going to do, again, to be more efficient with our time, I'm going to ask 3 questions of our applicants, and they're all going to be the same questions of each applicant. And then after, and you will have, and again, I will ask the questions individually, so you don't have to worry about memorizing the questions. And then at the end of your 10 minutes, then I will give the council an opportunity to do any follow-up questions should they have any. So council, if you could hold your follow-up questions, just make some notes during the interviews so that we can, again, I'm trying to do this as efficiently as possible. What I did earlier today is I put everybody's name in a hat, and I drew names so that these names are just randomly drawn, and that's the order that we're going to do them in. The first name, and I'll give you the order right now. Nancy Ricketson is going to be the first one, Robert Rabin second, Hal Goldstein third, Paul Stone fourth, Andrew Beitler, if he joins us, will be fifth, Damien is sixth, John Sturgis is seventh, and then Sarah Hussein is not with us this evening. So that is the order in which we will take you. When your name is called, please say your name again so we get your correct pronunciation in case I get it wrong, and also state your address. We need that for the record. So again, thank you for joining us. So Nancy Ricketson, you are up first.
Hello, my name's Nancy Richardson. My address is 4706 Cranesville Road, and that's 5531.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you for applying. So my first question to you is describe your past experience dealing with or participating in local government or other organizations.
Well, I'll try to keep that quick. I've recently retired as a professor in the recreation administration, therapeutic recreation field. I retired January 9th, 2020, and I told myself I was going to give myself a gap year before I kind of decided to do something else. I saw this listed on Catherine's Facebook page in our neighborhood Facebook, and that this might be something that I would be interested in. So certainly I have a long career, I think it kind of started when I was 15 years old, believe it or not. I was tagged by this Crystal City Council. I'm originally from the Twin Cities, although I've moved back. I haven't lived in the Twin Cities for 44 years. To help with their bike trails. Their pool had just opened and they were looking for youth to help them establish some bike trails. But certainly as a professional and as a professor, I worked with cities all over the country in establishing practicum field work and internship opportunities. But also I'll kind of highlight some key things from different places. When I was at the University of Southern Maine in the early 90s, one of my service responsibilities was to be the board chair for a nonprofit called the Center for Therapeutic Recreation. And of course, this was in the 90s when the ADA was just kind of getting started. And we were working with the city, recreation and the city lawyers at that time in order to help them figure out how to comply with those federal guidelines. And mostly that was training of staff and then providing some services for them. When I was in Wisconsin at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, I worked with the city in a variety of different ways. I have a background in gerontology and I was an early initiator at the university level in establishing age-friendly universities. And one of our alumni had recently taken a job with the city and they were interested in establishing or looking at establishing age-friendly communities and dementia-friendly communities. So I kind of did some behind the scenes or backward leadership with this alumni and the city, mostly helping them kind of get organized with some of those initiatives. I had consulted with AARP in a variety of different roles, and of course AARP is the spearhead of the age-friendly communities. I also, when I was in Wisconsin as well, I also was asked to do some consulting. The Train, which is a company in Wisconsin, was looking at an all abilities park, and they were looking for some experience or some guidance as it relates to older adults in the community and what they may need. So those are a few examples of that. So.
Okay, well, thank you. And then question number 2 is, what are the ways you think you can make a positive contribution to the commission, or in other words, what in your past would make you a good commissioner?
Well, I think my background in the recreation profession, certainly I've had lots of leadership responsibilities and opportunities throughout my life. But I think I saw that question posted and I was kind of thinking, regarding some of the strengths that I've had. As a professor, we've taught strengths. We use strengths in how we work with individuals. So I'll just share some of my strengths, and this is from VIP Strengths Finder. One of them is appreciation of beauty, and so that also goes for kind of open spaces and outdoor spaces as well. Another one is teamwork. Another one is kindness. Another example of a strength is curiosity and lifelong learning. So certainly I think my experience, professional background, and certainly some of my personal strengths might be able to be helpful.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And then for park commissioners, and it'll be a little different for planning commissioners, but for park commissioner applicants, what is your philosophy regarding city parks and trails, and how should the city pay for these?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. So certainly there could be a variety of different ways that you might go about that. I know that I looked at your 10-year plan that was 2010, and it looked like you were doing some collaboration with some surrounding entities. Certainly tax dollars pay for some of these as well. I know that you're looking at, like with our development here at the Ridge and Woodland Cove, some of those park spaces were part of the development's responsibility as well. So.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'll take this back to thank you very much, Nancy. I'll take this back to the council. Council, do you have any follow-up questions? I'll go down the horn here. John, anything from you?
No, thank you.
Okay. Pam, any follow-up questions?
No, I just want to, I'm glad that Nancy told us how she got the information to interview. I am just wondering if we could ask all the applicants that question, Lisa, just because I know it was posted in the Lake Huron website. But I'm thinking we should try to get as many residents aware of it in the future. And I would just like to get all the applicants' information on how they found out about the openings.
Okay, great. Okay. And Kathleen?
Nope, I have no questions.
All right, thank you. And Anne?
No, thank you. No questions.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Nancy. So our next applicant is Robert Rabin.
Hi. Good evening, and congratulations to everybody for being sworn in today, by the way.
Thank you. So just give your name, Robert, and then I'll ask you the questions.
My name is Robert Rabin, and I live at 4772 Merganser Drive, Minnetrista, Minnesota, 55375.
Thank you. All right, so the first question to you, the same one as Nancy had. Describe your past experience dealing with or participating in local government or other organizations.
Sure. I guess to start off, I have been on the Planning Commission for the last 3 years, so I have had that experience within our local community and government. I also, for a day job, I am in property management where I run apartment buildings ranging from St. Cloud all the way to Cottage Grove and throughout the Twin Cities. So I am dealing with municipalities, differing municipalities on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, depending on what we've got going on, whether it's a internal construction project or whether it's a road construction project in front of our buildings, or there's a neighboring lot that's being constructed or a park that's being done or something like that. But I've been doing that for 21 years now. So between my experience in the last 3 years with the Planning Commission and with my day job, I have, I guess, what I would say is a good amount of experience with local government.
Okay, thank you. And then what are the ways you think you can make a positive contribution to the commission? Or, in other words, what in your past would make you a good commissioner? Or what makes you a good commissioner?
Right. Well, first and foremost, I just want to say, like, my desire to see sort of the growth that's happening within Minnetrista, even though it isn't very fast because we don't have any commercial projects or things like that. But the growth within, whether it would be from Woodland Cove or something like that, I just have a desire to see our area be great. One thing I can say is I'm really, I have experience. I'm good with teams, and I'm sure that some of you guys have sat in our Planning Commission meetings, and I know like Damien is here too, and he's another commissioner. I don't talk a lot. I listen a lot. And when I'm in these meetings, I know there's other people on the commissions that are going to ask great questions and do all that. But if I feel the need to interject, I will. But I also do believe that you can learn more from listening than you can from talking. And with that, I know that my experience of the last 3 years has made me more confident with the Planning Commission, but I also know that there are other more experienced people that have dealt with more things, especially within the city of Minnetrista. I've only lived here since 2017 or whatever it was. So I haven't been here that long. And some of you guys have been here to see 30 years of change. And so the way that I can contribute is just by being me, I guess, and trying to participate in the best ways that I possibly can, and just to continue to learn.
All right, thank you. And then for the planning commissioners, the question I have is, describe your knowledge and or familiarity with the city's comprehensive plan.
Can you repeat the question again real quick, please?
Yeah, it's a little, okay. Describe your knowledge or your familiarity. How familiar are you with the comprehensive plan? What is it? how does it pertain to the Planning Commission?
I know that, to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure, but I will say I know that within our meetings we have discussed what the plans are for the future. Like, for instance, whether there's going to be certain areas that will be allowed to be put up for development or not. We just had a recent situation in the Planning Commission where there was a landowner that came to us and said, we would like to develop this area. Well, what that was told to them at that time was, well, that wasn't a part of our the future of the city, or wasn't brought forth, and it wasn't a part of our comprehensive plan. And because of that, it can't happen right now without going through this whole approval process. So from what I know, it's really just from within our actual meetings and stuff like that, but I have not actually studied it.
Okay, well, thank you. And also then, obviously, you might want to explain, how did you find out about the position opening?
Well, I'm currently, or my term for Planning Commission just ended. So as a former or current member of the commission, I knew that I had to reapply based on having done it 3 years ago, and also just being reminded when we had meetings that this was coming up.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, council members, I'll start with Ann. Do you have any follow-up questions?
Yes. Robert, have you ever had to vote on an area that was in conflict with direction from staff?
I'm sorry, what was that? My dog just started barking. I apologize.
Have you ever had to vote on a matter that was directly in conflict with direction from staff? And if so, please explain.
Not that I am aware of.
Okay.
Do you say
Good
directly
question.
in conflict with staff? Is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what do you mean exactly by that, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I'm just looking for, do you go along with things, or are you an independent thinker? That kind of thing.
Well, okay, I can give an example of a situation that took place in the last 3 years, and I was a part of the meeting where the discussion of Airbnb and VRBOs and stuff came, and I actually voted to allow them because of my background. I understand that not everybody is out there to kind of, pull one over on their neighbor necessarily, and that if things are done right, they can be done in a way that works out for everybody.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then Kathleen, did you have any follow-up questions?
Yeah, Robert, what do you see as the biggest challenge to address for the Planning Commission within our city?
Oh, the biggest challenge? Probably to determine how much growth that we can continue for construction to go along with what our schools can actually the amount of kids they can actually have. Because I have 2 young kids, one that's going to be in kindergarten next year, and the schools are already pretty full. And if we continue to add houses and development and stuff, how is that going to affect the school in the future?
Great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right. And John, any follow-up questions?
I did have one, but in the process of him answering Ms. McGregor's question, he basically hit on mine. So thank you.
Okay. All right. And Pam?
Like John, all the questions I had were asked. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. So thank you very much, Robert. And again, thank you for your service to the city and for reapplying. So we'll move on to our third app. You're welcome. All right. So next is Hal Goldstein. Hal, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Can
Go
everybody
ahead,
hear
Mr. Goldstein.
Good.
Yes.
I think you can see me too. I'm not sure you can see everyone, but I'm on video. Is anybody else on video?
No, we are only on voice.
Okay, good. I'm gonna stop sharing my webcam then.
Okay. All right.
Okay, that's funny. Anyway, I am Hal Goldstein. Um, my address is 3635 Tuxedo Road. Excuse me. And I came to apply for uh, either of the commissions, um, just looking at the website and seeing what might be available. I moved full-time to Minnetrista a year ago. I had lived in Minneapolis for 27 years. We bought a home here 5 years ago, and were excited to move here full-time a year ago. I retired from a career in um, investment management in March of 2019, and you know, having a lot of free time and an interest in giving back and getting involved in something where I can be helpful. I do have some volunteer experience, which I'll describe in a second. Um, I was poking around the City of Minnetrista website, and I saw that there were some openings that were coming up. So back in October, I submitted my application.
Okay, thank you. So, describe your past experience dealing with or participating in local government or other organizations.
Sure. Probably the closest experience I've had. I was the executive director of the Minneapolis Area Youth Lacrosse Association for 5 years, back in from '08 to 2013. And in that role, there was quite extensive interaction with park representatives, facilities representatives, school representatives, schools themselves, and the school boards. A lot of it had to do with scheduling and facilities obtainment for our organization's practices and games. So there was quite a bit of sort of interaction with various members of the city of Minneapolis related to that volunteer leadership experience that I had. The other experience that I had that I think is relevant, again, was as a volunteer chair of the board of the Montessori school that my children attended, Lake Country School in South Minneapolis. And while that didn't involve interacting with city really in any way, it's relevant experience, I think, in that there were a lot of different viewpoints that we needed to consider and make decisions based upon often differing opinions. And so I'll mention, those two experiences.
Okay, thank you. And then, what are the ways you think you can make a positive contribution to the commission, or what in your past would make you a good commissioner?
Sure. Well, first, just the level of interest I have, as evidenced by my initiation to discover that these positions might be open rather than seeing an advertisement. Not that there's anything, of course, wrong with that. That I think indicates just my keen level of interest in participating and contributing as best I can. From a skill set standpoint, I spent 37 years in the financial services industry, the most recent couple of decades as both an analyst and a investment portfolio manager. And in those roles, I was regularly presented with information, data, financial statements, opinions from experts, and it was often conflicting. So it was complicated and it was conflicting, and it was my job to evaluate both by listening to people, but also by reading extensively and examining financial reports, the best course of action, whether to buy a stock or to not buy, or to sell, or swap one for another. So my experience as an analyst and a portfolio manager, I think, suits me quite well, or is helped me build a skill set which I think is quite transferable to evaluating complicated, potentially conflicting viewpoints related to local government. And then I'd say the third thing is kind of my humility. Although I am confident in the skills that I've developed and I think that they are relevant, um, I'll preface my answer to your probable third question, which again is the familiarity with the comprehensive plan. One of the characteristics I value most in people, and I take it to heart personally, is humility. I don't pretend to know what I don't know. In this case, I don't know what the comprehensive plan says. I am a quick learner. I'm a good reader, so I think I can get up to speed quite quickly. But again, that's something that I believe would make me a good commissioner. I don't believe, I don't pretend to know what I don't know.
Okay, thank you. And then maybe, so you've kind of answered that one, but maybe I can go back to the park question too. What is your philosophy regarding city parks and trails, and how should the city pay for these?
Sure. Again, I'm I am not so familiar with the latter part of that question about how the parks and trails would be paid for. I assume through general property tax dollars, and I would be in support of that. Um, uh, I go back to my time as the executive director of the Minneapolis Area Youth Lacrosse Association. In Minneapolis, the availability of park space and facilities space is very tight. I don't know whether that's the uh, also the case here in the Minnetrista Westonka area, but all I can say, I guess, on that is I'm a strong supporter of and user of parks and recreation facilities, and so I would work hard to uh, figure out the most appropriate way of financing them. But again, without all the details, I'm not sure exactly what that would be other than property taxes.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Thank you. So again, Council, any follow-up questions? I know you've already answered the how did you find out about the position opening? You answered that with the website. And then, so Pam, did you have any other follow-up questions?
I do. Why did you decide to move to City of Minnetrista? Because I'm sure you had other cities that you looked at. Why did you choose Minnetrista out of curiosity?
Oh, well, we were looking for a place on the lake. And perhaps unlike many others who are looking for lake life, because it was going to be our second home, although again, now it's become our only home, we were looking for something a little different than maybe others were. We were looking for lakefront and as much as we could get, and land and as much as we could get, because my wife's a farmer, gardener extraordinaire, and I like to dabble in that as well. And so by far the best property that we could find was the one where we now live. And so I can't, say with honesty that we sought out Minnetrista, but we're so glad we found it. It's been years ago. when I was part of this Lake
I'm
Country
gonna
School.
hold on,
Oh.
Mr. Goldstein. What I'm gonna do is hold on
Yep.
because we're kind of nearing the 10-minute mark. I'm gonna
Sure.
go to the other council members to see if they have additional questions. So, Ann, did you have additional questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right, and Kathleen?
No, I do not.
All right, and John?
No, I do not.
All right, so I'll give you 2 more minutes if you want to finish up. I'm sorry to have interrupted you. I just want to make sure we hit all the nails on the head here. So,
Thank you, Mayor. No, I was just going to finish that last point. As part of being a volunteer for my kids, we used to come out to Voyagers out here just past this town of Mound. And unbeknownst to me, many years later, we're full-time residents of this glorious area. So I just wanted to say that it was somewhat serendipitous, but it's been a fantastic experience so far. I look forward to meeting all of you.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. We'll move on to Mr. Paul Stone.
Thank you. So my name is Paul Stone. I live at 85 Fairway Ridge Court, and that's the 55364 zip code up in the northeast quadrant of Minnetrista. And I did find out about this through the Laker. Both weeks that it ran, I saw the notice. And so I can jump right in with my past experience if you don't
Go
mind.
ahead.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
go right ahead.
You may or may not remember, but in 2018, I actually served first as a delegate to the Planning Commission and then became full-time, but was unfortunately only able to serve for about 4 to 5 months. And I, at the time, was in my first retirement, and I took a position with Goodwill Industries, a nonprofit in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. So I commuted for almost 2 years from my home in Minnetrista to the Milwaukee area to work for Goodwill Industries. And in March, I had the good fortune of entering my second retirement. And but it meant I came back home to Minnetrista, where we've been for 18 years. And so I took the summer and I became a small business owner in November. I purchased an Allstate insurance agency. Unfortunately, not in this area, but it's in Edina. But we are standing up our business throughout the metro area with insurance. And so that is, so I did have the good fortune of at least spending a little bit of time on the Planning Commission, so I have some familiarity.
Oh, you're breaking. You're breaking up. Hello? Hello? Mike, can you hear me? Okay, Mike, can you hear me?
I don't know what that was, Mayor, but
Okay. Mr. Stone, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Now we can. Yeah, it was really weird. All right.
really,
Yeah, caller 8
right.
that's joined, if they could mute. Okay, I'll
Say
continue.
that again? Yeah,
No,
go ahead. So, Mr. Stone, let's recoup. Let's go over this again. So, are you finished describing your past experience dealing with local government or other organizations?
Yeah, I'll just briefly mention that I've served on a number of boards. I was also on a condominium board in the Wisconsin area, where I lived during the week. I was the treasurer and served on that, so I have quite a bit of familiarity with at least sitting on boards.
Okay, great. And then the second question I've been asking is, what are the ways you think you can make a positive contribution to the commission, or what in your past would make you a good commissioner?
So thank you. So my past is my career has been full of what I'm going to call enterprise risk and assessments around not only risk management, but also around merger and acquisition. I have an extensive background working for one of the local Fortune 100 organizations in both the fields of risk management and coming into M&A. But one of the things it enabled me to do is really take a holistic view of a project or a plan and ask all the questions so that we can get a very diverse perspective on the project before we make a decision. And there are often times that I was happy to play a role that said, hey, wait a minute, what about this or what about that? Again, just to sort of force a more holistic view of what we were working on at the time. So I continue to take that approach. Now as a small business owner, it's all on me to assess my risk and to assess, and to get a diverse point of view from not only my employees, but my board of directors as well.
All right, thank you. And then since you're applying for the Planning Commission, describe your knowledge and or familiarity with the city's comprehensive plan.
I'll be really honest, I don't have a lot of familiarity with it. I remember back in, I think, 2009, it was adopted by the city. And then I think they're required to look at it every 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. But I have not dove into it to any level of detail.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So council, and then of course you said you saw the ad in the Laker, and that's how you found out about the opening.
That's
so that
correct.
answers. Thank you. That answers those questions. So I'll take it back to the council. Kathleen, do you have any additional questions?
Yep. Well, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Robert. What do you see as the biggest challenge to address for the city planning?
Well, I think the third question about the comprehensive plan is a really good one. I think that's where the commission should start. When you oftentimes put together plans, it's not just to fill up a piece of paper, but it's actually something that obviously a lot of people believed in and believed it was the right direction to take. So I would suggest that I would want to understand what comprehensive plan calls for. How are we doing against it? And what can we do in the short term and the long term to either stay on track or get back on track?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then, Anne, did you have any additional questions or follow-up questions?
No, thank you. No, thanks.
Okay. John?
No questions, thanks.
All right. And Pam?
No questions either. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Stone. So we have our next one is Andrew Beitler. Mike, has anybody else joined? Do you know?
Madam Mayor, there's been 2 additional people that have joined our meeting. They're only identified as caller 7 and caller 8. I had to mute caller 8, so if that's Andrew, I apologize, but I think his audio somehow was interfering with Mr. Stone's audio. So is
Okay.
Andrew, if you are on the call, please unmute yourself and identify yourself, Andrew.
Okay, apparently not. Yeah. All right. So what we'll do then
Andrew,
is we'll move on to, hello?
I just want to make sure. I would just want to make sure we've got, like I said, 2 people that are unidentified here. So, Andrew, are you one of the 2 or not? If not, we'll move on, Mayor. I don't think so, Mayor. So I think we're good to move on.
All right. Thank you. So our next applicant on the list is Damian Young. Good evening, Damian. Again, just state your name and then your address.
Damian Young, 4740 Palmer Court, Minnetrista, Minnesota, 55331.
Thank you. And then, again, describe your past experience dealing with or participating in local government or other organizations.
Oh, sure. So I'd say my primary, I think, owning a small business here in Minnesota is is pretty has helped me deal with government. I manage state contracts. We deal with a lot of municipality and agency contracts in technology. I've got 2 locations, one in Brooklyn Center. It's a large commercial facility, and then another location in Minneapolis. I've got anywhere from 9 to 12 employees. So, managing that has really helped in giving me the experience for that. I've been on the Planning Commission for 4 years. That's really been, great experience. I've also been on my HOA board. Participated in my kids' school PTA. I was election judge for a number of years, and I've got small business boards that I'm part of here in the Twin Cities.
All right. Thank you. And then what are the ways you think you can make a positive contribution to the commission, or what in your past makes you a good commissioner?
I'd say the most important quality on the sitting on the commission is a willingness to listen to all sides, evaluate the facts, put your personal feelings aside and really just listen. I think I have sound judgment, and that's a quality I'd say comes from being a former Marine. That's really important to be able to make a decision and be comfortable with it, be confident with it. And I respect my neighbors. So everyone that comes before the Planning Commission, I have a genuine, respect for them as a neighbor and their property rights as an owner. So, I mean, I think those are pretty important qualities to have sitting on the commission.
All right. Thank you. And then, again, as a planning commissioner, describe your knowledge and/or familiarity with the city's comprehensive plan.
I'm very familiar with the comprehensive plan. It's a 20-year plan. We put it together as a committee and as a city-driven committee. I wasn't on that committee, but and then the planning commission votes for it, sends it to the council. It then goes to Met Council. And they go back and forth a little bit here and there, I guess. And then it finally gets adopted. It's been a guide for us to, to determine where things should be as far as zoning, agriculture versus, development, what the intent was. I think it's a really important document because it gives the opportunity for everyone in the city, neighbors alike, just to voice their opinion, what they want to happen in their part of the city. And it's a collective vision of what the community wants. So I think it's a really important document.
Yep. Thank you. All right. And obviously you're on the commission, so how did you find out about the position opening? It probably will be similar to Robert's, but
yeah. knew my time was up, and I wanted to continue my service.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So follow-up questions. Any questions, Pam?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. And Kathleen?
Yep. Damien, you're going to get the same question as the other two. What's the biggest challenge to address for the city planning, in your opinion?
I think we've got a couple things. Obviously, the balancing the growth with the plan, and there's a lot of we've had instances where a subdivision could have 100 homes, but the aesthetics of the community didn't match that, and trying to balance that with what corporate desire might be with what the city's neighbors, would want to maintain. So I think that's a challenge. And then we've got, water management issues as we're growing. We've got water pressure, we've got all sorts of things. So there's other utility and resources that we've that are pretty fragile. And it's really important for us to put that in consideration, because again, if we don't adhere to our plan, we're going to run into bigger problems and it costs us more money and becomes a big issue. So, management of water, I think, is a number of ways. Not only water pressure or anything like that. It's the lakes. I live just off the lake, and that's really important. The resource, and it's a natural resource that's really valuable. So, I mean, I think those are some key issues that I would want to focus on.
Okay, thank you. And Anne, any questions?
No, thank you. I do.
Okay, and let's see, John, did I get you?
No questions, thank you.
All right, so I think I've got everybody. So thank you very much, Damien. And our last and final applicant is John Sturgis.
Can you hear me? I was that 8th person.
You are the 8th person. Okay, we can hear you now loud and clear. So welcome,
Right,
Mr. Sturgis.
I was kicked off initially from my internet. So thank you.
All right. So I need you to state your address for the record.
Yes, I'm John Sturgis. My address is 6812 Lily Lane, Minnetrista, 55331. I found out about this position, the Planning Commission. I was looking online, and actually I initially met Kathleen Repkin when she was running for City Council, and I looked online, and then I contacted her because she had come to my door when she was running. So that's how I initially found out about it.
Okay, great, thank you. So word of mouth too. So, so can you describe for us your past experience dealing with or participating in local government or other organizations?
Absolutely. So the first 20 years of my career, I was in the hotel business. The first 1/3 was in operations, and the last 2/3 were in development. I developed hotels. In the last place I was at before I started my own company was Carlson Hotels, where I was in charge of development for North and South America. So I developed hotels primarily in the United States, but also in Canada and South America. Due to that, I worked closely with local municipalities representing my company and our partners' companies. Part of the development was franchise development, where we worked with our partners, and part of it was corporate development. I've also had to evaluate projects and client projects using a similar process that cities use through their development groups. The past 10 years, I've built several companies. Many I continue to operate within the service and advisory sector. I continue to work closely with cities such as Minnetonka, Richfield, Maple Grove, and other cities to develop my pet hotel businesses. I also own a consulting business called Retrieve One Advisors, and we work with small to mid-sized companies and with business units within larger companies focused on growth opportunities. We've consulted with many groups on how to work within markets and cities to build their brands. I'm also a senior lecturer and adjunct professor at the University of Minnesota's Carlson School of Business, where I received my master's in business. I teach a entrepreneurial management class and am a senior lecturer on several other management classes and groups there at the university. Part of our discussions relate to working with municipalities to build mutually beneficial relationships. That's part of my agenda. I've also been on several national, regional, and local boards, such as the Twin West Chamber of Commerce, the Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce, which I'm on right now, the University of Minnesota's Carlson School of Business, Carlson School of Management's Advisory Board, the American Hotel and Lodging Association's board, also locally for Can Do Canine's Board of Directors for 6 years, And I'm also even more local. I'm the chair of the St. Hubert's. Now that's in Chanhassen, but that's where we were for 17 years before we moved here a couple of years ago. But I'm the chair of their parish council. So many of my director positions included working with developers within markets to grow their presence, so interacted with city officials.
Okay, well, thank you. And then what are the ways you think you can make a positive contribution to the commission, or what in your past would make you a good commissioner?
Well, okay, so my opinion of where we go with this is we're here for the general welfare and development of our community. So first of all, Minnetrista Planning Commission, the first word I see is collaborate. We need to collaborate closely with each other and the city council as well as the community we serve. We need to know what challenges we face now and into the future while not forgetting our history. So challenges is the second word, and having strategic initiatives in place to prioritize and take care of our needs. So needs is the third. So as a recommending body of the city council regarding public and private development proposals for consistency with the comprehensive plan and the city code, I see myself contributing in these following ways. I will help Minnetrista stay on track to achieve our goals of development and maintenance of the comprehensive plan. I've studied the most complex plans in my both corporate life and in my entrepreneurial and small business life, and know and understand how to take an idea from origination to assessment to summary of understanding and then to a go, no-go proposition, while staying within the scope of the city's comprehensive plan, or for me, staying in the scope of what our strategic initiatives are in our plan, anywhere from a 1, 2, 5, 10-year plan. Coming from a highly disciplined corporate structure to building my own businesses and teaching and influencing students and business leaders to do the same, I think the city will benefit greatly from my education, training, experience, knowledge, and engagement to not only get it right, but to make it all fall into place for now and the future. We need to listen to our citizens as well as clearly and concisely inform them of current and future affairs. I've experienced knowledge and drive that will benefit the city of Minnetrista, our citizens and individuals and companies wanting to develop here. Most city councils are generalists, so my experience will help them make more informed decisions. Finally, I hope to help be a visionary for the city, understanding past issues while building future initiatives.
Thank you. And then also, because you are applying for the Planning Commission, the third question is, describe your knowledge and familiarity with the city's comprehensive plan.
Well, my knowledge is looking at a plan called, I believe it's called 2040. And within that, you all did, you looked at what the vision needs to be. You did your SWOT analysis. You looked into urban development, public safety, outside trends such as partnerships. You also looked at growth trends, the academic side, in other words, schools, employment, planning areas, and capital improvements. So I think that some of the main areas there are housing, land use, commercial use, parks. We moved here because of the parks, quite frankly. Overall growth and implementation. I believe that in a nutshell, obviously, your plan is a very large plan and it's a 20-year plan, but I think those are the main points that need to be within the strategic initiatives for us to achieve them.
Okay, thank you. All right, does anybody have any follow-up questions? I'll start with Pam.
I'm going to ask the question that Kathleen's been asking. What do you think is the biggest challenge being on the Planning Commission? Being on the commission? Well, yep. I would say it's three things. It's growth, operations, and leadership. I think that the people are moving in this direction in the same way we did. We meaning my family. I think that growth from a corporate a company side, from a residential side. Many people have moved here because of the parks, because of the lake or lakes, and such. Operations that we are making the right decisions from a growth perspective, but we know that we can, fulfill our promise. So for example, Minnetrista, just like any company, in my
I'm going to say that Minnetrista is a bit of a brand. Okay, so you have a brand of why people want to come here. So we need to have growth from an urban perspective, from a residential perspective, and so on, that we can deliver what our promise is, because that's what a brand is. A brand is a promise. It's not just the name of a restaurant. It's not just the name of a hotel, but Minnetrista is a promise of why people are moving here. So we have to have that operations that is going to fulfill and be disciplined within our growth initiatives. And that's going to be done by leadership, that we have the right people that understand what it is we need. And specific to the Planning Commission, I alluded to this in my statement a minute ago, but this is not a negative, but the reality is that city councils are generalists. And you can only be generalist because you're not going to be an expert. City councilmen are not going to be an expert on every single item that comes to you throughout the year. So you need to have within your specific commissions people that are understanding and are at least somewhat of experts in what they're looking at. And they will also learn, and that they will also listen and understand where that direction needs to go. So growth, operations, and leadership.
All right, thank you. We are running out of time here. I'm going to just go down the line real quick. John, did you have any follow-up questions?
Oh, no, thank you.
And then Kathleen?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, and Anne?
Yeah, let me just ask one real fast one. John,
Yeah, go
your
ahead.
background's great. Your background is great, and I loved your answers. Are you going to have the time to do this? You seem to serve a lot of different committees and companies.
Here's the great
I'm
thing.
gonna, yeah, and so I have to laugh because that's exactly what I was thinking, Anne. Good question. Go ahead, John.
Thanks.
Well, I have a philosophical answer to that, but I'll give you my specific direct answer to that. My companies, I have great management, and I'm not running the operations on a daily basis. I'm overseeing them, so I absolutely have that opportunity. I've come off the board of Can-Do Canines. I'm coming off the board of St. Hubert's Church. In fact, my daughter now goes to OLL instead of St. Hubert's, and so I'm stepping down from several boards. And one of the things I mentioned to Ms. Refkin when I called her to say, what do you think about this, is I said, I really am at a point of my life of getting involved. This is not a busy thing where it's something on the side. This is something I'll be extremely focused on. And I have more time than you would think because my companies are running well, knock on wood. I still oversee them, but more from a chairman perspective. I'm not there on the day-to-day, and I am stepping down from several of the boards I'm on because I've been there for 5 to 6 years. So this is the opportunity, as I said to Ms. Refkin, that an opportunity for me to get involved in the next thing. And I've not been on a city council or a city commission, things like that. And this is what I would be excited to do. And I think I could bring a lot of my experience, and it would be great working with people both from the residential and the professional side and the elected side. So I absolutely have the time, or I would not even consider this. This is not a stamp on anything for me. This is getting involved in the community.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. So that concludes, unless Mr. Let's see, unless Andrew Beitler has called in. Anybody, Mike, anybody else has called in? Mike, can you hear me?
Mayor,
Hello?
Mayor, I don't believe anybody else has called in.
All right. So I'm going to just conclude our interviews at this time. So what we're going to be doing, just so all of you know, we won't be making a decision at the work session. This is on our regular council meeting agenda, and we will be discussing and then voting on this at our meeting at 7 o'clock. So if you want to dial in to hear the discussion and to hear the outcome, I would highly encourage you to do that. One of the things I would like to suggest to the council at this time, just taking a couple of minutes, we had 8 applicants, and I was very surprised and very excited to have so many applicants. We usually, and in the past, have not had that many people, but I think with a growing community, we may continue to see a large number of applicants. My goal has always been to try and get as many people involved as possible. And what I'm going to suggest, we can't do it tonight, but what I'm going to suggest is that the council take a look at our city ordinance regarding our parks and maybe even include our planning, that we can take a look at that. Currently, our park commission consists of 5 individuals and 2 alternates. There's no reason we couldn't increase that to 7 individuals with 2 alternates. So I'm going to ask if the council would be on board with at least considering that. We can't make that decision tonight. It is an ordinance. Both our park and planning commissions are established via city ordinances. So we would have to bring that back possibly at a work session or at the next council meeting for discussion. And then, of course, it would have to be published. And then we could make an additional appointments to our park commission at that time. Is the council amenable to considering that? I'll go down the line. Pam, what do you think?
I think it's really a good idea. Didn't it used to be 7 people on the Parks Committee?
I believe there was at some point, and that was quite some time ago. And because of lack of interest, we had to we actually made it a 5-member commission. But now we have more interest. So if there ever were a lack of interest, we could always go back to the 5-member. There would be nothing really prohibiting us from making that change.
So I agree. I think with the growth of the city, it's a great idea to try to get more people involved. And I am really impressed with the quality and the quantity of people that are here tonight.
Yeah, thank you. John, would you entertain that idea too?
Yes, I would. I would second what Ms. Mortensen is saying. There are very qualified applicants here. It's a shame to have to pick somebody out and leave somebody behind. So expanding the parks or the parks to be the same as the planning as far as number of individuals would be fine.
Okay. Kathleen?
Yep, I would agree to that.
I didn't get that, Kathleen. Say that again?
Yep, I would agree to increasing the amount of people on the Parks Commission.
Okay, thank you. And Anne?
Yes, definitely. I think it's a great idea. Everything that John said is exactly the way I feel too.
Yeah. All right. So staff, maybe we could bring this back at either our next meeting in January or a work session, and we can talk about that later. But we'll bring that back. So tonight we will only be making 2 appointments to the Park Commission. I'm sorry, 1 appointment to the Park Commission, 2 alternates to the Park Commission, and 2 appointments to the Planning Commission. With that said, keep in mind, and I don't know if we want to have this discussion at a regular meeting, possibly we could have 2 additional individuals involved in our park commission. So keep that in mind. And with that, then we are. And then again, just thank you to all the applicants. I agree with John and Pam's comments. Great to see so many qualified individuals. So thank you. We really don't have a lot of time, but I think what we should do is just spend maybe another 10 minutes or so, or on the next agenda item regarding the Sunnyfield Road project. Ms. Fauski?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So included in the packet is a brief overview of an item that's on the regular session agenda, which is the Sunnyfield Road Street Improvement Project. The regular agenda item is to accept the feasibility report. This project presents a somewhat unique situation in that the adjacent properties to the Sunnyfield Road improvements is all under one ownership. It's the school district. And so with that, I wanted to provide the council with an opportunity to have a discussion in a work session setting to to see if the council would like to adjust the assessment methodology for this project. The assessment methodology per the city's assessment policy is to assess 50% of the project costs. So if there's some information or some guidance that the council would like to provide to staff, we can certainly work with the council and towards a solution if the council wants to vary from the current policy.
You know, unfortunately, I think it's a good discussion that we need to have. Unfortunately, with about 10 minutes, I don't know that we could do justice to that discussion. So maybe there's a couple things before we make a determination on that. We really almost have to decide on whether or not we're going to include the turn lane. I wonder if we could decide on including or not including the turn lane, and then the discussion for the assessment methodology, maybe put that to the next work session. Let me ask staff, so Allison and or staff, would that be an option, or do we need to make that determination tonight?
Madam Mayor, we're certainly at the leisure to accommodate what you requested, what you suggested there. The feasibility report that's on the council agenda tonight is simply acknowledging the information presented to the council. It does not require the council to take certain actions with regards to how the project proceeds.
Okay, council, what are your thoughts on this? Do you want to proceed with this? Again, we've got about 8 minutes left, or would you like to move it to the next work session? I'll ask Anne, what are your thoughts?
I'd like to move it to the next work session.
Okay, and Kathleen?
We can move it.
All right, I want to be sure because you guys are new and there's probably a lot of information that might be thrown at you, and I don't want you to be overwhelmed or feel like you don't have adequate information either. So Pam and John, are you okay moving this to the next work session?
I would agree if we're talking about possibly having a discussion on our normal policy of 50% assessment. That may be a little bit long-winded, so let's move it.
All right. And Pam, are you okay with that?
Yes, I agree.
All right. Do we have enough time, do you think, to discuss the turn lane? We could actually take the turn lane into the regular meeting, because I know that, Allison, is that part of the feasibility study and plans and specifications? I mean, wouldn't that be part of that?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So the feasibility report includes a cost estimate both with and without the turn lane. We did that to provide the council with, so that the council would have a cost comparison, so that you can take a look at what the cost benefit would be of including that turn lane in the design. There's been, again, a preliminary design was including the turn lanes, so to go and pull that back would be a slight modification of plans, but certainly nothing that would be drastic at this point in time.
Okay, so we could do that at a regular, coming up at 7 o'clock at our regular meeting.
Yes.
Okay, all right, then I'm going to suggest we move that to our regular meeting, and with that, then we are done with our agenda, and we can be adjourned if I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. This is Pam.
All right, Pam made that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, wait, you have to say which one. You have to give me your name.
Oh, sorry, this is Ann.
Ann, sorry, Ann. I don't recognize your names, your voices yet. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is Ann. I second it.
All right, thank you, Ann. So Pam made the motion. Ann seconded that for. With that, all those will signify with aye. I vote aye. Pam?
Aye.
And Kathleen?
Aye.
And John?
Aye.
And Ann?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned, and we will reconvene at 7 o'clock for our regular meeting. Thank you very much.